Warning, the following episode is a work of fictional horror and may contain numerous horror elements, such as mentions of significant body harm, otherworldly beings and powers, death, gore, and sudden loud noises. Viewer discretion is advised.
Okay, Dr. Rubin, I think this is the last report we need for today's episode. It should cover the entire history of Ursus Maritimus.
Thank you. You know, it's weird how there's no SCP file on this, not even an anomalous object file. Somehow the UIU had it entirely covered on their own. I thought they were only really good at reconnaissance, not documentation, subjugation, and containment. It's kind of our job. And when I think about it, it's even weirder that the Foundation has next to none of their own documentation on it. It was left entirely to the UIU. I must say, this has been a welcome surprise, even if it's 1XK too late.
They're more capable than you think. Anyway, let's save that for later. It's time to begin.
Oh shit, you're right. I still have to sort all of my files too. Hey, you did the intro for episode 5, right?
You are not being serious right now.
I'm going to need a moment to organize these things again. Do you think you could get us started?
Oh, geez. Are you sure? I'm not sure that I...
Nonsense. You did wonderful last time. I listened back over it in the vault after everything ended. Though a large chunk of the episode was kind of corrupted near the end, but regardless, you did great. And this episode is all about you anyways. Get us going.
Hold on, wait! Okay, it's okay. You can do this, Sera. It's just like last time. How did that go again? Something like... Hello to all of you wonderful folks braving survival out there. This is Field Agent Sera from Site 230, here to bring you another instance of Welcome to the Foundation. For those of you who are just tuning in, last week we covered what it was like to be a D-class individual with the Foundation, and all of the unspeakable things that it came with. We also got to explore Foundation Site 56, though just thinking about that gives me a weird headache. Anyway, now we're back. Today we're going to be presenting another new perspective to you all. Before the world ended, what was it like to be a field agent? Just like me. Today we will be opening with Tess's Ask and Answer segment once again, handling your questions after the informative session last week. Then Dr. Robin will be hosting his segment, covering the entire history of the Ursus Maritimus, the fated energy-absorbing polar bear. Then we'll be concluding with my segment, where I will be going down to Wilson's Wildlife Solutions, some old friends of mine, because I have a hunch and I want to see who and or what is really left out there.
Hey, Sera, do you have more tea? Dr. Robin won't let me in the cabinet and... Oh, shit. Are you on air?
Yeah, we always go live at this time. I was just about to talk about being a field agent before all of this happened.
Oh, cool. Actually, you know what? This gives me an idea. I was hoping to host like an ask and answer listener call in thing. But I realized that we don't really have working phones right now. I am going to give it a shot. I don't think it's gonna work, but if it doesn't, we could do an interview.
Hold on, an interview? Live? Are you sure?
Yes! Like, come on! It's gonna be fun. And it's not like you haven't done weirder things on air. The whole shark punching thing, as an example.
Fine, I guess. Well, I guess we're going to Tess's segment now. Let's begin.
Okay. Robin actually did somehow have an old phone in his office. So we are going to give all of this a shot. For those of you listening today, I am going to be answering your questions live. So give us a call and I will answer your questions, and I can even talk to you. Talk to people outside of these two. Oh my god, it's gonna be so great. Alright, let's go. Any minute now. Come on. We've heard from Sera that other people do in fact exist out there still. So at least one of you is going to be able to call us, right? Okay, this is getting really frustrating. No way someone actually called. Hello, you are on the air. Welcome to the Foundation. That's what it's called, right? Yeah, what's your question?
Hey, yeah, what the fuck?
Cool. That was fucking rude. Okay. Alright, instead, how about, this is your 1 week notice that next week I'm gonna take your calls. And remember, our number is... Okay, no, yeah, let's do that interview then. Sera! Come on down! Alright, Sera. Let's take some time to get to know you a little better. Alright, what can I add? What's your favorite color?
Aren't you supposed to be asking me about what it's like being a field agent?
Okay, yeah, we are going to get to that. But first, our viewers should know a little bit more about you as a you.
Okay. I always have a hard time picking a favorite because, you know, all the colors deserve love, but maybe today it's orange?
Huh. Ew. Okay, moving on. What are you gonna say? Ooh, what is your greatest fear?
Being forgotten. When I was little, I used to have this recurring nightmare that I showed up to school and they wouldn't let me in because no one recognized me. So then I went home and my parents wouldn't let me in either because they didn't remember who I was. I was just totally forgotten. It was really terrifying.
Okay. That's dark. I was definitely expecting something a little bit more like I'm scared of the dark, or I hate clowns, or something like that. So we're gonna move away from the depressing statement you just made. What would you say was the happiest moment in your life? Let's go with so far.
Oh, that's easy. The day I joined the Foundation.
You know what? That's actually really interesting and something that I have actually been wondering about you. How did you end up with the whole Foundation anyway?
Well, they told me I'm not really supposed to talk about that because it could potentially hurt the relations between the Foundation, the FBI, and other stakeholders.
Do you really think anyone out there is gonna care about the professional relations with the whole XK going on out there? Plus, who knows if any of the organizations are even still around out there?
I hope they're not all gone. But I guess you're right. It probably won't impact anything anymore. Plus, I guess it does give folks an idea of what a field agent does.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So, how does someone like you end up in a place like this?
So, before I was with the Foundation, I used to work as a meteorologist with the FBI. While I was doing that role, I started to notice some odd patterns with the weather, and a few days after I reported my hypotheses to my supervisor, I got transferred to the UIU, the Unusual Incidents Unit, They said something about my having a knack for finding oddities being an asset.
Yeah, finding oddities. This was a good place for you.
Now, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed working with the UIU. I've always found things that are a bit off to be very fascinating. But at the time, I still really wanted to make use of my meteorology degree from Deer College. So it was really frustrating that I ended up mostly being tasked with combing through old weather event files to look for anything anomalous. Plus, the UIU is notoriously underfunded due to the feds focusing on support from the SCP Foundation and the Global Occult Coalition. This meant that I never got any training to support my new role.
No training. Wow. That sounds accurate.
So, you could imagine my excitement when the equipment at our site, the Portland Recon Camp Bravo, started to detect a massive freaking blizzard hitting the nearby town of Boring. The higher-ups asked a group of agents to go visit the site to assess the situation for anomalies, and, since it was weather-related, they wanted me to do a weather report.
Oh yeah, because who wouldn't be excited about walking into the middle of a goddamn blizzard?
Of course. Anyways, I was super excited to finally get out of my stuffy little office and gain some experience out in the field. And to be finally using the skills and information I had toiled in college for 5 years for. So, Strike Team Bravo 1 picks me up and our van speeds into downtown Boring. At this point, the blizzard is raging. No one can see much of anything. The officer leading the team says something along the lines of, "We don't get paid enough for this shit." And then he decides to send me out by myself into the storm. Because, well, I'm the weather girl. I still remember shaking from the cold, but more so the anxiety, as I walked out and I gave my first official weather report. It went something along the lines of, "Good afternoon, beautiful folks from the UIU and beyond. My name is Sera, and today I'm reporting from Boring, Oregon, where an unexpected, massive blizzard has just appeared." Then I turned around to see if my feed was getting through to the team, and they were just gone. I was completely alone, totally surrounded by nothing. Just the whipping wind and the blinding white snowstorm. To this day, I still don't know if they just took off and left me there to fend for myself, or maybe I just lost them in the storm. Doesn't really matter either way.
Oh, that sounds really shitty.
Yeah, it was. I was totally freaked out. But at the time, the only thing I could think to do was to keep giving the weather report. So I kept going with stuff like, conditions for this region were predicted to be sunny and clear with a high of 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Modeled current patterns did not indicate an expectation of adverse weather in the Boring region. But standing out here today, I can confirm that severe wintry conditions are continuing to progress, including heavy snowfall and gale force winds.
Fuck, that's cold.
And just as I'm starting to get pumped up about the meteorological implications of increasing impromptu weather patterns as I give my report, I hear a loud roar. I thought that was intriguing, so I started heading towards the general direction of the sound.
Oh, yeah, no, yep. Walking towards the loud, threatening sound. Okay.
Well, also, I didn't really want to stand around in the blizzard all by myself, and I was hoping that the Bravo 1 guys might have also heard the noise, and I'd be able to meet up with them. So yeah, I went that way. And I started to see the outline of the Wilson Center. I could make out the figures of people and something larger. So I followed. Plus, it was an opportunity to shelter from the storm, because at that point I was freezing.
Following random people and or things into a shelter. Okay.
Once inside, I was overjoyed to see that the figures I had seen were in fact our guys with Strike Team Bravo 1, along with some of the folks from Wilson's. I was less enthusiastic about the roaring, glowing polar bear rampaging around inside.
Yep, that sounds like a college party I heard about.
Who are you?
Who knows? I sure don't. So, polar bear?
Yeah, so I was going to offer to help, but I didn't have any field training at that point because, funding. So I just kind of watched as a couple of the first agents tried to subdue the bear by firing tranquilizers at it, which didn't do much besides piss off the creature even more. The bear goes wild, smashes through the wooden barricade they had set up, and pins down one of our agents on the ground.
Oh.
I'm watching all this, thinking the guy's a goner for sure, but Agent Westron, he's a lucky guy. As he hits the ground, all of his equipment goes flying, and thwack, this big, long blue rifle hits my left shoulder.
Seriously?
I didn't really even stop to think. It's like my body just acted without me telling it what to do. So I started firing in the general direction of the bear. Again, no prior training. It's enough to freak the thing out again, so it gets off Westron and starts charging in the opposite direction towards the rest of the guys. I don't really remember much besides Westron screaming, "Kill the damn bear!" and "Red button!" And then I'm hitting every damn button on the rifle and firing towards Ursus. I couldn't let it get the other guys too. These crazy glowing red orbs start to come out of the gun, and then the bear just fucking explodes.
Wait a second. Wait. Are you telling me that you, our little Sera, blew up a polar bear?
Well, not according to the official records, but yeah. It was very tragic, and a few of the agents and Wilson's staff proximal to the bear also passed away in the explosion. But also, that's the most freaking badass I've ever felt in my life.
That is badass.
A few days later, a couple of guys in black suits approached me with an offer to join the Foundation, as apparently they had heard about my field bravery from some of the folks at Wilson's. And I accepted. I didn't see much of an interesting future for my meteorology career with the UIU. Plus, those guys probably frickin' abandoned me in an emergency. And yeah, the rest is history. Super cool, smart field agent Sera, at your service.
Alright. Damn. Now I know. That's... Okay, honestly, yeah. This is... Alright. You're not half bad. You sound pretty cool, I guess. Why don't you go check on Robin and try and finalize the file segment?
Can do. See you later, Tess.
Alright, that's that. Now I guess Robin is the hell? Getting mail? Like mid-episode? Alright, what is it? Oh, great. Love CI? Again? Oh, that is a lot of pink. Just because I have pink hair does not mean that I like pink girly things. Sign just girly things. What even is this? Oh, wait, here. It has a letter attached. Looks like you've all had time to think. Time to get things going again. CI. Oh, not this bastard again. What is this? Wait, it looks like a quiz? Okay. You know what, I have another bit of time left in my segment. I might as well. Alright. Jot down your answers on a sheet of paper and tally them up to see results at the end. Okay, what has my life come to that I am doing this? What would be your ideal day? A. Finding your most treasured lost item at a thrift shop. B. Redoing one of your worst moments and fixing it. C. Getting revenge on who hurt you. Or D. Seeing someone you can never see again. Okay. What do you look for in a person? A. Just as weird as you. B. Knows how to use a gun. C. Has the same desire to fix the past. D. Is someone who you lost. Alright. If you could have any superpower, what would it be? A. The ability to read minds. B. The ability to reverse time. C. The ability to communicate with past versions of yourself. Or D. The ability to talk to anyone no matter where they are in the universe. Okay. What do you wish for your future? To be successful in achieving your greatest wish. B, to guide others in their self-journey. C, to protect people from the dangers of themselves. D, to become a warning. Alright, I'll go with that. Yeah, I didn't tell you guys what my answers were. We're just gonna figure this out as time goes on, but anyone that followed along, let's go through the results, I guess. If you picked mostly A, your main personality trait is determination. You're a go-getter. You aren't afraid of danger and you know how to protect yourself. If you picked mostly B, your main personality trait is generosity. You want to help others, no matter what that means. A bit of invasion may be necessary, but in the end, the lives of those around you will be so much better. You picked mostly C. Redo yourself. Seriously, all you do is live on guilt. What's even the point? You picked mostly D. You miss them that much. You're pathetic. You should have been better. Whoa. Well, fuck whoever sent that in. That was just really lame. Here's hoping that Robin has something more interesting, I guess.
Okay. Stack 1, the incident. Stack 2, the bear. Stack 3, the UIU. And Stack 4, Wilson's Wildlife Services. Alright. Looks like I'm ready to go. But first, hey Sera, have you ever encountered Ursus Maritimus yourself? Why did you select this file?
Have I encountered Ursus Maritimus? Well, of course I have. Dr. Raman, don't you know that's how I joined the Foundation? So, yeah, I have encountered Ursus Maritimus. I thought it would be a good example of the typical type of thing a field agent might have to encounter working for the Foundation. So, why don't we take a look at it?
Alright, can do. So, for those of you listening, today we will be covering a relatively intense topic from the history of Agent Sera. This is an interesting case study. It gives us a lot of information, letting us explore the effects of anomalous polar bear, but also that many similar beings may still be alive out there. But more importantly, it begins to give us some insight into anomalous organizations beyond the Foundation that may be somewhat operational still, those being the FBI's Unusual Incident Unit and Tim Wilson's Wildlife Solutions. We're going to be opening by discussing the Ursus Maritimus in a pair of 2 files. First, I'm going to give you an in-depth description of the polar bear itself. Then, the FBI's UIU file on it, which reads quite similar to a Foundation SCP file, but has some noticeable differences that we'll get into. Then, we're going to conclude by discussing an anomalous group that has come up time and again when researching this file, Wilson's Wildlife Solutions, or WWS, an anomalous organization that itself isn't part of the Foundation, but has worked with it towards effective containment. Let's open up with a quote from WWS's own Tim Wilson.
We've been operational since 1997, when I was but a wee lad of 42 years, and we've been under official supervision since 2008 upon the signing of the legendary Boring Agreement, which came about after the infamous Ursus Maritimus incident.
So, with all this hype that I've given you, there's one quite obvious question that remains. What actually is the Ursus Maritimus incident? Well, I present to you its critter profile. The polar bear. Overview. Name is the polar bear. Species, Ursus Maritimus. More well known as a polar bear. Primary caretaker is not available. Diet, raw pork. Housed, formerly in Enclosure 3. More recently, Refrigerated Storage Locker 5. The following dialogue was presented by one of the former employees of Wilson's Wildlife Solutions.
Creature features. We don't have a name for this critter, but folks around the Wildlife Center have been calling him simply the polar bear during his time with us. You read that right, this is a genuine polar bear, straight from the Arctic. Well, I assume he's from the Arctic. He could be really from anywhere up north. Anyways, on to the creature features. This critter is unlike anything we have ever encountered before. The polar bear absorbs all the thermal radiation, meaning heat, from the area around him. Right now, you must be thinking, well, that ain't too bad. Sounds like he'd be helpful on a hot summer day. Well, he doesn't just make it a little colder. This critter absorbs the heat out of everything, be it the warmth of the air, the heat from a radiator, or your very own body heat. The polar bear absorbs it all up and, in some process unknown to us, becomes incredibly bright. This heat absorption also has the unfortunate side effect of making it snow in the area around him wherever he goes, which is a real pain when he comes around in the middle of a hot summer day. History! This critter and the circumstances surrounding our first encounter with it are very unusual, to say the least. It all started with a picnic on Tickle Creek. For those who are not residents of Boring, Tickle Creek is a creek that runs a mile or two south of the town. During the summer, folks like to go picnicking on its banks. It was a pair of such folks that led us to first discovering the polar bear. It all started with Mr. Wilson getting a phone call from his close friend, Sheriff McIntosh. Apparently, a pair of lovebirds had run into the sheriff's office screaming about how a massive albino grizzly had walked out of the creek and chased them into an apple orchard just outside of town. Tim decided that he wanted to check it out personally and asked Huggy and I to come along. So we all hopped in his pickup and drove up to the orchard, where we met with the sheriff to look for this albino grizzly. It didn't take us long to find him. It's not hard to spot a giant white bear. He was having a grand old time, chowing down on some red apples, and thankfully didn't notice us quickly backing away from him. This is where we realized that he wasn't an albino grizzly, but in fact, a polar bear. We backtracked to our vehicles and elected to think up a plan on how to catch the polar bear. The plan was as follows. Sheriff McIntosh would drive back into town to make sure no poor passerby get too close to the bear, and Huggy would call up some more volunteers on her mobile phone, who would then help us divert him away from the town and the Wildlife Center, where we would then try to get him into Enclosure 3, which was at the time just recently completed. It sounds pretty simple, right? Wrong! Just as Huggy was about to call up the Wildlife Center, the bear went barreling past us towards the town. We hopped back into Tim's pickup and followed him along the road, Huggy frantically telling the volunteers over the phone to prepare to catch a massive polar bear. Thankfully, they were ready when the bear reached Boring, and managed to divert him into one of our capture vans, which is really just a fancy name for van with a big cage in the back, without any problems. We were able to deliver him to the Wildlife Center and get him into the enclosure without issue. But after a few hours, we noticed something odd. It was getting increasingly colder in Enclosure 3 as the day went on. At first we thought it was an issue with the air conditioning, but it wasn't even completely installed yet. No one even considered that it could be the bear causing the cold until it started snowing inside the enclosure. To prevent him from filling the enclosure with snow, Huggy had the idea to turn the heater up to max. And as soon as that heater kicked in, the bear started to look agitated. We didn't think much of it at first, since, most wild critters dislike unfamiliar noises. But then, he began to glow. I don't mean that the sun reflected off his fur. I mean that he started producing light, like some kind of Ursus-shaped light bulb. He got so bright that it got impossible to look at. I don't know about you, but when I see a bear start glowing, especially in Boring, I try to get out of Dodge as soon as possible. So I did exactly that, pushing Huggy and Tim out the door just as the bear let out a blinding pulse of light, which knocked us all to the ground. When I got back on my feet, the bear was sitting in the middle of what I can only assume was the charred remains of Enclosure 3. With heat bringing about a very destructive outcome, we decided to try putting him somewhere cold instead. Conveniently, a refrigerated storage space in town had an open unit available. After some discussions with the owners, we were able to purchase the unit and relocated the bear there. The unit is quite pricey, but it's only temporary until we can move him somewhere up north. One last note, I just got word of a heat wave predicted to hit Clackamas County in a few days, so we're gonna have to wait to move the bear until after. Once we get him settled in a permanent home, I'll update this page. Also, thanks for reading this longer than average critter profile. Special needs and accommodations. The polar bear was the first and last critter to use Enclosure 3, which we have recently built using money from one of our monthly bake sales. Its purpose was to house any larger critters that we encountered in boring, things like wolves, bison, and saber-toothed felines. And it did serve its purpose for a little while. I would have liked if it had been around more than a few days, but hey, things go wrong sometimes, and that's okay. His current storage unit home is managed by a very nice couple named Andrew and Kelly, who have agreed to let him stay there until we can find somewhere colder to house him. They've also been very nice about the whole thing, which is great. Notes about the polar bear. June 20th, 2008. We're going to be holding a bake sale tomorrow to raise money to rebuild Enclosure 3 and pay for the polar bear's temporary home. Come buy some apple pies and support us. June 21st, 2008. The incident.
Hello there, my name's Tim Wilson. Yes, that Tim Wilson. I'm going to be taking over from Al to finish this critter profile, as he's currently at home getting some much-deserved R&R. Now, I'm sure that you've already watched the news and know what happened. A polar bear wandered around town for a little over 2 hours in the midst of a massive blizzard, destroying 2 buildings, flipping over a dumpster, and ripping apart fences, and causing the untimely deaths of Andrew and Kelly Cook, a pair of government agents, and our friend, Sera Gardner. We will be hosting a memorial service for Sera, Cooper, Toucani, and Bluefur on the 4th for those who can attend. What you don't know, however, is what happened after the bear's death. The government took its corpse somewhere, I don't know where. They did stay to help clean up the town, which was awful nice of them. You might have seen their snowplows driving around these past few days. Later that day, a bunch of folks in suits showed up and asked us to have a meeting with them. I really didn't want to meet with them, especially during all this, but the way they said it made it clear I didn't have much choice. So, Al, Faye, she came along for emotional support, and I met with them. Apparently, these folks were the ones sending us all donations, and they wanted to make an agreement with us. They would give us the resources to take care of all the unusual critters in Boring, and we would give them any critter that was too much for us to handle. I accepted, of course. I would have been dumb not to. There are more critters in Boring than we could ever hope to handle on our own. These supervisors, as people have taken to calling them, will help us make Boring a safer place for person and critter alike. And hopefully this agreement will prevent anyone else from getting hurt. Before I go, I would like to apologize to all of you. Every single one of you. I bit off more than I could chew, and I dragged you all along with me. It was reckless, I regret it, and I am deeply sorry. If you would like to sign the card we are getting for Sera's family, please drop by the new center. I love you all.
So that's a good story of what the Ursus Maritimus incident is, but it doesn't give us a solid factual background that an official file can. So next is the UIU file 2008-021. Initial report. The electronic copy below is as per the Federal Records Act. UIU file 2008-021. Case file, Ursus Maritimus incident. Recall that these files are written like main Foundation SCP files, but are substantially different in their own way. Summary. An event caused by the presence of a heat-absorbing polar bear in Boring, Oregon, resulted in sudden localized climate change, the destruction of private property, and 2 civilian deaths. For information regarding the Boring Agreement between the SCP Foundation, Wilson's Wildlife Solutions, and the United States government, please proceed to the Bureau tab of this file. The next section, Event and Locale Preface. Event Discovery. A sudden out-of-season blizzard was detected by meteorological equipment in Portland Recon Camp Bravo. Further information revealed the blizzard to be localized to Boring, Oregon, a city 20 miles from Portland. Strike Team Bravo 1 was dispatched to investigate the unusuality. Locale summary, pre-event. Transdimensional hotspot US 1221, aka Boring, Oregon, is a convergence of transdimensional waypoints with a US citizen community. The local population regards supernatural events as normal. Area is under SCP Foundation supervision. An organization dedicated to the capture and rehabilitation of supernatural fauna by the name of Wilson's Wildlife Shelter is based out of Thus 1221. Locale summary post-event. Boring suffered intense snowfall, which quickly melted following the stabilization of weather patterns. Minor flooding persisted for a week following. Efforts to rebuild the Wilson Center and provide disaster relief to Boring are ongoing. Wilson's Wildlife Shelter is now an affiliate of the SCP Foundation. As per the Boring Agreement, the United States government maintains a joint jurisdiction of the area alongside the SCP Foundation and affiliated parties. Creature description and capabilities. Codename, the Polar Bear. Physical description. Creature was a polar bear of non-noteworthy appearance. Capabilities. Creature continuously absorbed heat in a large radius, reducing ambient temperature to sub-zero levels. Heat is converted to light, which radiates from its fur coat. This property was known to be exacerbated by extreme weather conditions. Purpose or motive? Unknown, likely survival. Modus operandi. Creature wandered aimlessly through Boring while scavenging for food. Behavior. The creature was highly hostile to UIU agents and WWS members alike. It avoided areas with large civilian populations and overturned a dumpster. Evidence. The following is an interrogation record of Timothy Wilson. Begin log.
Yes, Mr. Wilson, this is being recorded. You aren't in trouble. You haven't broken any laws. I just want to talk to you about this situation.
Listen, I appreciate all the help the government has given us here,
I
but
promise you, Sera will be okay.
Old Owl was almost mauled by the polar bear. My center is in ruins, and gosh, I don't even want to think about copper.
I am aware of what has transpired, Mr. Wilson. Will you please cooperate with me?
Fine, but let's be quick about it. Please. I need to rally the troops, and I don't know how I'm gonna talk them out of this one.
All right. How long was the bear in your custody?
About a week now, I reckon.
How did you house the bear prior?
We tried keeping it over there in one of those big ol' enclosures you see over there. But it didn't pan out so well. So instead we kept it up in that Neptune cold storage down by Main Street. But, well, you already saw what happened there.
How are you able to afford all of this?
Are you accusing me of something?
No, I would never.
We get our money and fixins off donations and bake sales. We got a real big anonymous donor. They're our guardian angel, I'm telling you. But I don't know if this is going to be able to pay for Sera's hospital bill.
Do you have an...
I just feel so bad is all. She was just doing her job, pro bono no less, and lending us a hand with that dangerous critter, and... gosh. Are you sure I can't see her? I just want to talk to her and let her know we're going to cover her expenses. I think I might have to take out another loan, but it will be okay.
Mr. Wilson, please. Do you suspect anyone of being this angel donor?
I don't know. These donations are anonymous. Now look, mister, it's been real nice, but I'm getting antsy and my folks are out there shaking in their boots, not just 'cause of the cold. I need to go talk to them and tell them it's going to be A-okay.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
And that's the file for Ursus Maritimus. There really isn't much more to say that we have a time for today. But with that being said, there's one thing I would like to discuss with the time we have left. You may have noticed that the name Tim Wilson comes up quite often. I've mentioned this already, but for those who tuned it out, it turns out that Tim runs the organization of Wilson's Wildlife Solutions, previously under a different name, which handles wildlife problems, especially those that are anomalous. Interestingly, the Foundation kept a dossier on WWS, including an agreement they made after the incident. You've heard about this already as the Boring Agreement. It's beneficial to know what anomalous organizations were like prior to everything that's happened, especially since they could still be around. So, let's cover it. Welcome to Wilson's Wildlife Solutions. We begin with their agreement with the Foundation, the Boring Agreement. In this world, normalcy is difficult to maintain. The regulation of the anomalous is a strain on all those involved in all ways involved. Funds, personnel, our very humanity itself is taxed. However, it is of utmost importance that normalcy is maintained, as that has been, and continues to be, part of the Foundation's prime directive. Due to the importance of normalcy, containment of anomalies is generally undertaken by the Foundation, with little exception that is within our control. However, due to rising anomalous activity, we have been forced to examine our own resources, and while they are plentiful, they are not infinite. It is because of this inherent, undeniable limit to our influence that we make this proposition. The Boring Agreement is not just an outline of steps and regulations, or contractual legalization that allows Wilson's Wildlife Solutions to interact with anomalies. It is a pact that must be upheld no matter the costs. The Boring Agreement is Wilson Wildlife Solutions' pledge to maintain normally, and to bear all burdens that the duty entails. Secure, contain, protect. And now, more interestingly, an introduction that was pre-covered by Tim Wilson himself.
Hello, partner. It looks like you fine fellow found yourself in Clackamas County and the town of Boring, Oregon, which can claim to have the least fitting name in all of the United States, except for maybe hell over in Michigan. For those of us who grew up here, it sure may as well be as boring can get. But we've recently run into some people who we affectionately refer to as the supervisors. And through some conversations here and small talk there, we know that we apparently live in what some people call a nexus. A nexus is what gives us some weird animals around these parts. I myself am Tim Wilson, founder of this wonderful community-funded organization that goes by the name of Wilson's Wildlife Solutions. You have wildlife problems, and we solve them. Recently, we've gotten some new sources of cash, so we're spreading our horizons all across Oregon, which is known, but not by most, as the world's greatest source of exotic fauna. The Amazon may have its parakeets and tigers, or whatever lives down there, but up here we've got big, supposedly extinct birds, cleverly calming turtles, money-driven crows, time-hopping coyotes, and the like. We've been operational since 1997, when I was but a wee lad of 42 years, and we've been under official supervision since 2008, upon the signing of the legendary Boring Agreement, which came about after the infamous Ursus Maritimus incident. Since then, it has been cake-eating and smooth sailing. Well, as of the time of writing, the world is a crazy place, and honestly, it's a bit surprising how well we have been handling it. Let's hope we all stay that way.
So, that's what an anomalous organization looks like. Anyways, I think I've taken enough of your time for this adventure. Let's go to Sera.
Hello, folks, and welcome to the Field Report. Today, we're visiting Wilson's Wildlife Solutions, some old friends of mine. And you might be wondering, why are we doing an entire field report covering a seemingly random organization that handles anomalous animals? Well, the reason is this. All of the recent visits to Foundation facilities that I've been making has got me thinking. Why do all the sites seem to have no living Foundation personnel around? And many more SCPs present than they were supposed to be containing in the first place. Yet every time I have explored a public region, there are still a few anomalies, but also civilians who are seemingly totally fine. While I don't have an answer to what's going on, I do want to test something. If Foundation personnel are gone, and civilians are relatively fine, what happens to a civilian organization that works with the Foundation? Or other groups of interest? So today, that's why I'm visiting Wilson's Wildlife Solutions in Boring, Oregon. And honestly, I think we could all use a little bit of boring right now. Dr. Robin should have given you folks an overview of what WWS is. Basically, it's an organization dedicated to the preservation and rights of anomalous biota, operational under a contractual boring agreement with the Foundation. But well, I know these folks a little better, since I did grow up in the nearby Three Portlands region, and when I was with the UIU, we collaborated loosely a few times, following the Ursus incident. So let's go. I'm hoping some of my friends will still be around. Okay. That's not a good start. Hello? Aw, they've still got a bunch of adoption posters up around here. What a cute little raccoon. Hello, my name is Bandit. I'm a raccoon. I'm missing the 5th finger on my left paw for some reason, but I'm still pretty handy. I get along well with most people, but I'm some sort of magnet for meanness and other critters. I have a weird interest in stuff like phones, laptops, and other such things. I've also figured out how to open doors, cans, and bags. Wow, that's actually quite impressive for a raccoon. Why do I feel like they're not telling me everything about this guy, though? Okay, who else is here? Bakugo, the Malayan tapir? And a greater Baku, a type of Japanese yokai, which is best known for its ability to eat dreams. Huh. Bakugo is a bit standoffish, but he'll eagerly eat an apple out of your hand. Or a nightmare out of your brain. Man, that would have so come in handy last week. Well, okay. It doesn't seem like anyone is coming. Let's just see if any of the critters are around here still. Looks like a lot of the cages are empty. Oh, crap! Oh, hello. Is that Vizzy? I forgot about you. How is my favorite little African pygmy goat friend? How did you get out of your enclosure, eh? Wait, why are you sticky? Is that Caesar salad dressing? Did you get into the fridge again, little lady? Hey, wanna show me where the fridge is? We could definitely use some more diversified rations. No freaking way! Tapioca pudding? Thank you, gods! Everything is right in the world again. I love you, Vizzy. Oh, hello. And what was your name again? Cupid the Dove, right? Excuse me, that's my sleeve. Hey, where are we going? Okay, I guess we're going this way then. Where are you taking me, little lady? And what was your thing again? Man, a lot of the enclosures really do seem empty. I wonder if Big Blue is up to shenanigans again? That silly little Euclidean right-angle cube. Oh, right! I remember now. Cupid, the dove who leads you towards the fella who would want to see you the most. Maybe there's hope someone is around here after all. Is this it, buddy? Avian enclosure number 2? Are you looking for some of your bird friends? Aren't there 3 locks on this thing? I don't think I'm going to be able to get in. Well, that's convenient. How did you get that? Is this what you wanted, Cupid? Come on in. Hey, what? Is that a goose?
I am not just a goose, foolish mortal. I am Zargoth, destroyer of dimensions, and I am a god among men.
Holy crap. Were you just speaking in my head right now? That's a neat trick. Hello, Zargoth. My name is Sera, and I'm a field agent among the Foundation. Thankfully, I have the key right here. Wait, hey, how did you get that?
With my flawless sleight of hand, I can steal any key from right under your stupid noses. You imbeciles tried to keep me caged, but I will escape from this prison.
Huh, I'm actually impressed. Were you two in cahoots? Got your little girlfriend Cupid to lock me up in here?
Zargoth is a singular being with no need for petty moral trappings such as affection and love, or the consensual rubbing of bills, though these things must sometimes be feigned to keep the disciples subservient.
I apologize. I didn't mean to offend such a
Not adorable.
little guy. Come on now, please give me the key back. Pretty, please. And he's walking away. Great. Now I'm stuck in here. Great job, Sera. I'm sure everyone's gonna be impressed by the story of how you got locked in a bird enclosure by a little goose. So much for being a super cool, smart field agent with the Foundation. Maybe I should have kept my job as a glorified weather girl with the UIU. Although if I had done that, I don't know if I'd still be around right now. Who knows if the UIU is even still kicking out there anymore? It seems like the Foundation sure isn't. Screw this! Screw all of this! Hey, wait. Screw? I can unscrew the hinges and take the door off. I don't schlep around this utility backpack for nothing. And they told me carrying around a power drill was a waste of time. Super! Cool. Smart. Field agent! Haha, I gotcha, sucker! Okay, now where's that stupid goose? Way to go, Vizzy! Hey, Zargoth! Bad, stupid pet boy goose that locked me in a cage.
The mortal returns, how resourceful.
Bad goose, what do you think you were doing?
I ran, dropped out of a vent, and was surrounded, but I managed to retrieve my sword.
I didn't mean literally what did you think you were doing. Wait, your sword? Holy crap, the goose has a knife? Wait, that knife looks familiar?
Worship me as your idol. The gods have grown old and foolish, and only talk of migrating and child-rearing. But all of you have much greater desires. Worship me, and bring me followers of my own kind, and we shall rule.
I thought I heard a commotion back here. Zargoth, what trouble have you gotten into this time?
I am fulfilling a secret stealth mission after stealing a key from a clumsy guard.
Oh, hello. Sera, is that you? How have you been?
Sam Howell? What the fuck are you doing here too?
Sam who? Sorry, Sera, it's me, Tim Wilson. Don't you remember me?
What? Tim. Oh my gosh. Hi, I am so sorry. I think I was a bit confused for a second there.
What on earth are you doing here?
Well, I'm currently in the middle of a knife fight with Mr. Destroyer of Dimensions over here.
This is exactly why we keep our spare nets around here. I've got this.
Wretched existence. Zargoth has been foiled yet again by a magical net.
Sera, are you alright?
Yeah, I think so.
So what's new with you lately?
You mean besides the whole world-ending thing? Have you seen what it's like out there? What are you still doing here?
Well, someone has to care for the critters.
Your priorities never change, do they, Tim? I respect that.
Still with the overseers who shall not be named?
Yeah, I'm still with the Foundation. Or what's left of it, anyway. I'm working with a pretty cool team right now. We're trying to help people survive out there. There's this sassy lady who's obsessed with tea, and this really cool SCP expert named Dr. Robin. Oh, crap, right. Sorry, Tim, just give me 1 second. Hey, Dr. Robin, I'm gonna chat a little longer with Mr. Wilson and see if I can gain some information about the impacts to this region. Why don't you go ahead with the wrap-up now without me?
And so, I guess that brings us to the end of this week's installment of our guide on how to survive the end of the world. So let's give a little summary of what we've talked about today. In this installment, we've covered multiple anomalous beings and organizations. We've covered the history of our field agents, and even the fact that anomalous animals and other beings can exist and can range quite intensely in terms of power, behavior, abilities, and any other expectations you might have. So, you might be wondering what we're going to cover next week. Well, we have been discussing doing an episode on what it was like being a researcher and director of the Foundation. An episode about me, you could say. And while I think that would be interesting, I don't think it would actually be useful to any of you out there. There's no way you're well off enough to be doing your own research. Besides, I get a strange feeling that I'd be repeating myself somehow, but I don't really know why. Anyways, instead, I want to hone in on one theme from today: anomalous organizations, otherwise known as groups of interest or GOIs. Many of them have existed in the time of the Foundation, and I think we really need to talk about them. This would include who they were, how they operated, how dangerous they were, how dangerous they still might be, seeing as at least one of them still exists today, and how you could survive encountering them. Of course, not all organizations are evil. Actually, quite a few were strictly beneficial to the Foundation. You saw one of those today. But this could be useful all the same. As always, remember to stay hidden, stay safe, and stay alive. Take what you learned from this episode and stick around until next week. This is Dr. Robin and the team signing off. And as we close, I would like to give a huge shout out to those in real life who made this episode possible more behind the scenes. First, I would like to thank Kevin MacLeod, who did the music that you heard in this episode. You can listen to his music and more at incomptech.com. I would also like to thank our various voice actors who you heard in this episode, including Serena, who played the role of the Critter Profile Narrator, also known as Al, John, who played the role of Tim Wilson and the Goose, and Esme, who played the role of Agent Masters. I'd also like to thank the various SCP's authors whose work we used in this episode, including Dark Stuff and Jade Schuyler, who wrote the Ursus Maritimus incident, Dr. Annoying Dog, who did the Critter Profile for the Polar Bear, Uncle Nicolini, who did the UIU file 2008-021, and Dark Stuff again, who did the Wilson's Wildlife Solutions Hub and the file On the Radar, which inspired the field report. We'll see you next week.